Hey everyone, this is Mr. Michelson again. I want to talk to you today about C.E.R. and how we can use that to write. We use C.E.R. in argumentative writing. You see the word argument in there, and we are in our argument unit. Last week we took a look at some different controversial issues that people had many opinions on. People were on one side of an issue or another. And that's really where we're taking this unit. We're looking at different arguments. C.E.R. is going to be helpful for us to write some of our own arguments and to back up some of our own opinions about some of the topics that we take a look at. So you may have heard of C.E.R. last year a little bit. If not, that's okay. We'll tell you a little bit more about it here today. We use C.E.R. to really support what we call a thesis. A thesis is the point that our writing or our paper is trying to prove. So you may have just even kind of gotten a little bit of help with this or practice with this. You just wrote about a hot dog. Is it a sandwich? Is it not? You were precise and specific. You said it was either not a sandwich or that it was a sandwich. And you focused on one thing with that thesis. That's what a good thesis should do. It should really come down on one side of an argument or another. And from the thesis, we need to have support. And that's what our C.E.R. is going to do. C.E.R. stands, first of all, for claim, evidence, and reasoning. This is how we structure our arguments. After we have our thesis, we use the C.E.R. structure to come in and to really give a good overview of why we feel the way that we do, why our thesis is the way that it is. So we'll start here with a claim. Really just making a point about your thesis. You probably came up with a couple of claims about why you thought a hot dog was or was not a sandwich, and that's great. It's a good start. Claim, a point that you're making about your thesis. Now from the claim, we need to actually go a little bit deeper. We need to find more specific things to say, and we call that evidence. Specific examples from the text that help to prove our claim. So we go from the thesis to the claim, and our claim is supported then by evidence, the E. Usually this is found in some of the research that we do, some of the readings that we do, and we try to find things to actually quote word for word in our own writing. We blend some of that research in with our own writing in order to, again, support our claim. Now the R, this is the hardest part, and this is actually going to be probably the longest part of your C.E.R. writing. Further information and evidence that you can use to prove your claim. Your thinking here and your reasoning is made visible. This is where I usually tell students that you're drawing the lines between all the dots in your thinking. You're making your thinking very clear. You're making your thinking very visible for anyone who's reading. Making sure that anyone who's reading your writing isn't having to put things together, that you're helping put all the things together. Why do you have that claim to back up your thesis? Why does your evidence help support your claim? Make sure that that's all clear in your reasoning. We'll show you an example of this in just a second, but C.E.R. is what we'll be using, and C.E.R. is something that you'll get a lot of practice with here in the coming class periods. Here's the thesis that I came up with. Pretty not controversial right now, I think, although Ms. Harris might disagree. The 2017-2018 Minnesota Vikings are a great football team. If you saw the game back on Sunday, you probably will know this. Here is a thesis. It's something that I think is true, but I want to make sure that I have some evidence to back it up. I want to have some other things to say to back this up. I can't just go around saying this without really going a little bit deeper. So here's my claim to back up my thesis. The Vikings have an excellent defense. That may be true. And I think if you know anything about the Vikings, you've maybe seen them play. You've seen that to be true. However, I want to find some more evidence to back that up. So along with my C, I'm going to need an E. I'm going to need some evidence. I went around on the internet and found a little bit, and here's what I came up with. According to Jace Frederick of the Pioneer Press, the Vikings finished the regular season first in yards allowed, 275.9, as well as first in points allowed, 15.8. I've got a link here to the article if we want to check it out later. Found this quote, seemed to back up what I was trying to say in my claim that they have an excellent defense. But let's say I don't know anything about football, and this kind of doesn't make sense to me. These numbers don't really do it for me to prove that this is actually true, that the Vikings have a great defense and that they are, in fact, a great team. So along with my evidence, I wanted to do some explanation here. And that's really what your reasoning is doing. It's explaining for your reader your thinking. So here's what I said in my reasoning. The Vikings defense has prevented other teams from gaining yards and points this season. Defense like this is one of the keys to a successful football team. Because of their great defense, the Minnesota Vikings are a great team. So I've just used my own thinking here, explained my own thinking and my reasoning, and really tried to tie that all back to what I was really trying to set out to say, which in fact was the 2017-2018 Minnesota Vikings are a great football team. Claim, evidence, reasoning. That's what we'll be seeing more of. That's what we'll be getting more practice with. Just wanted to give you some sort of a overview here today. Thanks for listening.